So following the midterms, which ended up being a pretty significant blue wave, you have conspiracy theories coming out about illegal voters. So many illegal voters. In fact, recently on his show, Lou Dobbs was talking about the myth of undocumented immigrants voting in large numbers in this past election. Let's take a look.
Well, we're watching, millions of illegal immigrants cross our borders, and many of them voting in the past election. That's what it was just a couple of weeks ago, and having an immense impact. If there are, as Yale and MIT say, 20 to 30 million illegal immigrants already in this country, you know what that means for the districts of the U.S. Congress and the influence that they're giving to, for example, the state of California, Illinois, New York. But New York has such an
the burden on our
migration.
economy.
It's not.
All right, so there's Lou Dobbs talking with David Bossie, right? Now, Bossie was a former deputy Trump campaign manager, and look, you heard what he was talking about. Millions of people voting, coming in across our borders, which is not true. We actually have net zero immigration with Mexico. In fact, really the biggest event that's happening at the border is the so-called caravan, in which, look, some of that caravan actually just made it, I believe it was yesterday. And so, of course, you got everybody freaking out about that. But when it comes to the so-called millions of illegal immigrants pouring across the border, this is not true. Now, as I said before, there are asylum seekers. Yes, that is true. Those are people that are going to a port to try to, basically appeal for asylum from their home countries because they're afraid for their lives. But anyway, now, he also mentioned that recent study from Yale and MIT, right? Now, apparently, that study has had its reliability questioned by other researchers. But he says, oh, no. Yale and MIT say there are 20 to 30 million illegal immigrants already in the country. It's a significant amount, by the way. And he says, well, if they're all in the country, then they all must be voting. Well, that's not true. There's no evidence to back any of that up. In fact, they've presented no evidence. He's talking as if all of this is just fact. But wait, if there's questions with the study that you're citing, with the methodology and the results of that study, well, then you can't just cite it as if there's nothing. You don't even present that as a caveat. So that's deeply irresponsible reporting and literal fake news. There's more. Before joining Fox Business Network, of course, Dobbs, look, he's had a history of this. He is deeply anti-immigrant. He built his career at CNN by blaming illegal immigration for everything from diseases to a significant portion of the nation's crime. Again, studies have borne that out, have not borne that out. They have found that undocumented immigrants actually commit less crime. Why? It's because they don't want to get caught and deported. Now, that's one of the reasons. Then they do less crime than native-born Americans. So that's simply not true, what he's talking about. He also blamed them for things like bringing leprosy. Fucking leprosy, dude. Serious. This guy's unhinged. He also said back at CNN, before he was fired, that an army of invaders from Mexico was part of a plan to take over the southwestern United States. Has that actually happened? Has that actually happened? No, it appears it has not. Most of the southwestern United States is still deeply red. So they haven't actually taken over literal fake news. Here we go again. Not only that, but in 2005, he said that there was an invasion of illegal aliens that's threatening the health of many Americans before turning to a report wrongly finding that despite there being only 900 cases of leprosy in the past 40 years, there have been 7,000 in the past 3 years. Now, when he was called out on his bullshit, Dobbs said, well, I can tell you this. If we reported it, it's a fact. Wow. Hey, man, I reported it. It must be a fact. So no accountability when you actually get shit wrong. Are you serious? He is serious, though. He's like, no, look, I get everything right, and you should only listen to me. And I just make things up, and I present it to you as fact, and you should swallow it without looking at any sort of the actual information. Forget everything, that the researchers are saying. Forget everything that the experts are saying. Just only listen to me and my deeply racist fear-mongering. It is no wonder that this guy is Donald Trump's biggest fan. Let me tell you what. Here's the thing. So there's people out there obviously defending Lou Dobbs. You know who isn't really defending Lou Dobbs? Fox News. Fox News and Fox Business Network, which, by the way, do they really actually talk about business? All I hear on Fox Business is people talking about how poor people suck and how immigrants are terrible and bringing in diseases, which are actually not. Now, in fact, the network had pulled an October episode of Lou Dobbs Tonight, in which the host guest, Chris Farrell of Judicial Watch, said the migrant caravan was being funded by George Soros, or the Soros-occupied State Department. There was no pushback from Dobbs, and Fox Business soon condemned the rhetoric in a statement. Not even Fox News is defending Lou Dobbs anymore. This guy is absolutely 100% fucking unhinged. And, as I said before, deeply racist. And it's no wonder that idiotic racist people will tune in and watch this guy. Like, oh yeah, God, I hate those immigrants. I hate them so much. Even though they don't do anything to me and they actually kind of help the economy. But no, I'm going to blame them for everything bad in my life. They never take any sort of responsibility to anything wrong with their life. They always have to blame other people. And of course, there's this enormous projection from these absolutely idiotic assholes who think, oh no, it's the immigrants, those are causing all the problems. When in reality, it's your own votes causing the problems. When they continuously vote against their own economic interests for giant corporations. It's bullshit. But anyway, there's more. Now, I mentioned the link between Dobbs and Trump, right? Now, Trump has been caught lying about immigration as well. Surprise, surprise. Back in 2016, for example, he cited that there were 3 to 5 million illegal votes that were cast that cost him the popular vote. Is that true? No, that's not true at all. That's 100% false. There's no factual basis to claim that. And look, if you want to talk about voter fraud, right? That's also baseless. Their own study, their own commission found so few cases of voter fraud over the last, 60 years, that it amounted to about 0.0000025% or 275%. It's just an infinitesimally small amount of actual in-person voter fraud. And look, if you're to take that and that number, and if you're to add it to the people who are here illegally, undocumented immigrants that are voting, it's not even going to barely budge. That shit does not happen. So, look, all these things like voter ID and all the fear-mongering about immigrants coming in and voting for Democrats, it's a solution looking for a problem. Because that problem doesn't actually exist. And you guys who believe it, deluded. Absolute delusion. No evidence. There's no evidence for any of that. And so, not only that, but there's one more piece of data I'm going to give you here. Actually, 2 pieces of data. Now, there was a lot of aides for Trump had basically tried to back up their assertions of massive amounts of illegal, undocumented immigrants voting in elections, right? And they pointed to research from Old Dominion University, right? Now, the study, which has been challenged by other researchers, found 14% of non-citizens were registered to vote. Oh my God, 14%. That can make a major impact in elections, right? Well, it turns out, even if it were true, that would account to just 1.1% of all votes. So that supposedly massive amount of people, that 14%, would account to of 1.1% of all votes. Not necessarily enough to swing most elections, even if it were true. They live in a world of delusion. They live in a world of fake news. And Lou Dobbs is one of the biggest peddlers, and Trump is one of the biggest consumers of that fake news. Get yourself informed. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.